Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to Wayne Bennett's Podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Bennett, and this is episode 134. It's March 28, 2024. Our guest today is a singer-songwriter. He's a music teacher, girls basketball coach, and a promoter, Mr. Matt Mullins. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me, Wayne.
Hey, now you grew up in Beckley.
I did. I'm a Woodrow graduate. Went to Stratton Junior High, and then my ninth grade year is when Beckley Stratton consolidated. So I was in the first class. So it's funny to be a teacher there now.
Now, did you go to St. Francis?
I did. I was a St. Francis Saint. I'm a Catholic boy. So my dad worked for U.S. Steel. So I lived in Welch till we were 4. My dad's from Welch, West Virginia. My mom's from Copperston, which is the Oceana area. And we moved to Birmingham, Alabama with U.S. Steel. And then at 11 years old, I moved back to Beckley and grew up in Maxwell Hill. And my mom still lived in the house I grew up in until about 3 years ago. And she sold it, and she didn't need a big house anymore. She just wanted a little townhouse. So she lives in Shady now.
I remember one year you and Joey Fama had won a social studies fair.
Yeah.
The coal mine
superstition.
Yeah,
we did it. I think we did it 3 years in a row. See, we added to it. But yeah, Joey's been one of my lifelong best buddies, and he's so successful now. He's a big screenwriter and writing all kinds of scripts. And I think we're going to end up seeing one of his scripts on it's already on some big screens. I think that they showed it at Sundance. And he's writing all kinds of stuff. Joey's awesome. He's an awesome guy.
Now, somewhere at a young age, you fell in love with professional wrestling. And we won't get into that too much because that's a whole different program.
But, we can talk of that all day.
What appeals to you about professional?
I think the theatrics. Also a lot of athleticism. Just when I was little, that's what I really shared with both sets of grandparents. Both my grandmas on both sides. When I would visit in Welch, they would have it on. Shirley Love's WOAY wrestling program. And my mom says that it's hereditary, that I was going to love it because she can remember her great-grandma that was from Craney. Her name was Parthenie Brown. She said she'd have a dip of snuff in and watching Saturday Night Wrestling, pulling the arms up on her lazy boy. So I just loved it growing up. And as I got older, I think it just evolved. There was a time period when I was probably apprehensive in my 20s of telling people that I was a wrestling guy. But then once 30 came, that was out the window. I like what I like. I think there's football guys and basketball guys, and I'm a wrestling guy. I like basketball too. But it's just something that's fun to me, and you forget about the worries of the world when you're enjoying it.
Well, my youngest son is, I don't know, actually, I don't think it is genetic on our part, but I don't know where he got it, but he is, got into professional wrestling, and we used to come home and he'd have a tennis racket and a suit on.
Jim Cornette style, I love it.
He still, when we bought him a Randy Savage doll, and he wrestled with that thing till when he got married. He took it with him and still follows it. He probably knows, but I'd like to get you two guys together sometime.
There's something nostalgic about it, but also it's just fun. It's just fun. My kids are 10 and 12, and they didn't understand it, at first when we're watching it. And the more that I've explained it, and I do the music for a few wrestlers that were in the WWE. So they have like walkout songs, and they use some of my music. So we've got to go to some pretty cool events, and my kids, seeing their eyes light up. And that's just like reinstilled it 100 times over to me that I just think it's just neat and just something we like.
Now, you played a little basketball at Stratton, and that was during a time when there were some pretty good ball players, Mike Ross and Kevin.
Mike Ross is my best friend as well. Joey and Mike from St. Francis all the way up. I wish I could have gave Mike my height, because I think he could have been in the NBA. But Mike and I still talk pretty frequently. He was runner-up state player of the year 2001, our Woodrow years. But yeah, we played. We were 52-0 at Stratton. So Coach Ballstick, Coach York, Coach Beckett, undefeated in basketball and football all 3 years in middle school. So,
wow. Did you play in high school?
I played my 10th grade year under Barksdale, just JV, and then I started really loving music and skipping school, and so my attendance record wasn't good enough to get back into it. So I played at AAU in the summers. We were on the national championship team, 19 and under, but it would have been my junior year because Lee Paris and Kevin Harrington were on that team. I didn't get a lot of playing time, but I got to see a lot of good basketball.
Well, no, you played some in the summer league after high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I played for years. That was always so fun. I got to play on the Fellowship of Police team with Duckworth and all those guys, and it was so funny because all police officers and me with long hair and tattoos on that team. But I still love it. And Beckley Stratton didn't have a team last year for girls basketball. There was nobody to coach. And so Johan Smith, who's our principal, he saw my basketball picture hanging up and he said, "We need a coach." He said, "I understand you were a hooper. Come on." So I had a really good time. I think I'm doing it for the rest of my life if they let me. It was really super fulfilling, and got to see so much, progression in the girls as far as even personalities. I had them last year in music class without being their coach, and then this year I got to see how they're just getting comfortable in their own skin and really liking it, and behavior-wise acting better because they want to be involved in sports. So it's so neat.
One of our family friends, Charlie, she plays for you.
Scarborough, yeah.
And she plays a little volleyball and basketball. But what about the teaching part? Let's go back. Let's go back to high school. What kind of music did you listen to in high school?
So kind of a good mix. Both my parents had extensive record collections, so I can remember listening to records. Even being scared of old Lefty Frizzell murder ballads like The Long Black Veil. I remember being scared of that when I was like 8 and 9. But the first concerts I went to were Alabama, going to see Alabama, and then my mom loved the Temptations. So I think that's kind of the mix that exists still to this day. Is I have love for good country, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, but I also love soul music. And of course, once I found out that Bill Withers was a Beckley guy and went to Stratton, I became obsessed with finding out as much information as I possibly could about Bill. And just that really got me into the music part. As far as being a performer, my mom would tape Saturday Night Live on VHS because we'd never stay up for it. And so I would watch Saturday Night Live over and over and over, and I would memorize all the skits. And so I kind of always thought that was going to be my dream of being a stand-up comedian or a performer in that way, kind of improv. And guys that are still around, Jeff Miller, who's the Parkway's director, he was a drummer when we were in high school, and he said, "We need a singer." And he said, "Man, I know you probably can't sing, but you don't care to get in front of people and act a fool. So I liked being funny." And so that's kind of how I got to be a singer. Was they needed a singer in their band, and so we were called the Lava Buns in high school. That was our high school band name. And it was Adam Bond, guy that's still around, Jeff Miller, who's, like I said, the director of the Parkways. He's super successful now. Ike Sneed was our guitar player, and I just sang and rapped a little and told jokes. And that we played Soldiers Memorial for high school kids. And that's
Ike wrestled for me a little bit in junior high.
Yeah,
he was pretty good kid there. Somebody told me that when you started playing the guitar, it was to impress a girl.
Yes, pretty much exactly that. I definitely in that first band didn't play guitar at all, and my high school sweetheart, we went to Marshall my freshman year, and I pretty much got a guitar. My mom had bought me a cheap Sigma guitar on the way to Marshall, and got my heart broke and started writing love songs to try to get her back, to impress her. And I'm glad it didn't work, because I've had a life full of music and songwriting. I fell in love with. I think that it becomes your own therapy. Music is so powerful and can change your mood, or you can get stuff out in ways that you might not be able to speak it, but you can try to write lyrics down and figure out how to sing it. And so that's kind of definitely the start of me being a singer-songwriter, is getting my heart broke.
Did you study music in school? In high school?
I did not in high school. No, I took lessons from Dan Bailey once I came back to Beckley. Love Dan Bailey. He's still around. And Dan, he started me. I was already pretty much playing songs and people paying me. And when I came back to take lessons, and Dan still started me out, he's like, you got to start from the beginning, and took about 10 or 12 lessons from Dan, and pretty quickly was gigging and just out playing anywhere that would let me play. And as far as music lessons, I've taken kind of some more advanced, just because I picked it up on my own, but no real degree. I did take some music appreciation and all that stuff at Concord. I graduated from Concord, and they let me teach some songwriting classes, which was neat.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now you around 2005, 2006, you got with Nick Durham and Matt Gibson, and you guys formed the Old School Abbey.
Yeah.
Who came up with that name?
I think it was a combination of Nick and I. We were talking about, Nick actually lived across from me at Concord, and he was in a different band called Every Other Tuesday, which was his first band, and I would open up their shows. I'd play acoustic and sing, and then once Nick's band broke up, Nick and I started writing songs together, and we were thinking, what could we name it? And I remember we were thinking we both loved the Temptations and that old school Motown sound, and we were thinking old school, and then I don't remember who. Somebody liked a girl named Abby, I think is where it came from. The Old School Abbey is what we went with, and we started playing Lewisburg, and we played a lot of places, the rafting companies in Fayetteville, which is a really cool thing that we have here, is because you can play these rafting companies, which a lot more used to exist, but you can play the same places in Fayetteville and have a different crowd every night because it's all these tourists. So it's like being on tour but never having to leave, So we got to play to all these different people, and we won a Battle of the Bands, a Budweiser True Music campaign, and we won a Battle of the Bands in Lewisburg, and so they became our sponsor. So Old School Abbey, we got to do some really cool stuff that we probably were undeserving of, but it was just so awesome.
Well, you opened up for Dave Matthews, didn't you?
We did. So the True Music campaign, it was in Charlotte. They did like a tailgate in the parking lot before. So I think the Register Herald even put it that we opened for Dave, but I think that was a little far-fetched because we didn't get to hang out with Dave or anything, but they had the Budweiser had a True Music tent set up, and we got to do that. So that was really cool. We moved out to San Francisco, made a record. We had actually had our band meetings at the distributorship in Sam Black Church, and they were asking, they were like, well, what's the next step of your band? What do you feel that would help you guys, do this full time even more? And so we said, well, we'd like to make a new record, and we'd like to go to an actual, studio. So we were looking in Nashville, Richmond, and then San Francisco. And of course, with the history of the Grateful Dead, and we had this opportunity to meet some of the guys that were in a band with a fella named Jack Johnson. We thought that San Francisco was our choice. So we were out in San Francisco for almost 3 months making a record, and got to go out there and experience that. It was amazing.
Anything ever come out of the record?
Well, what's really funny about all that is we had these musicians that were pretty big deals over there. Jackie Green is a fella's name, Zach Gill, and after making the record, we released a single on the radio out there, K-Fog Radio, which is, I think, Seattle-based. We were back in West Virginia, and that song was in the top 10 rotation, but we weren't doing any support touring over there. So it just kind of fell to the wayside. And then the band, for whatever reason, just had an argument, and we were all equal partners. And so Nick and I stayed together, but everybody else went their own ways. And so Nick and I started the band called The Boatmen out of Old School Abbey breaking up.
Now, The Boatmen, that was Randy Gilkey was in that group?
Yeah, Randy Gilkey was in Old School Abbey too, because so while we were in San Francisco, we had all this guest piano playing done. Well, we were like, when we get back to West Virginia, we need to have a piano player to play those parts. And Randy is an amazing musician and just a good guy and been a good friend for a long time. So Randy joined the band right as the rest of the guys were breaking up. And so Nick, myself, Randy, and then a fellow named Rob Gross, who teaches music in Fayetteville now. Rob played djembe drum, and we all did like kind of the Temptations, our take Appalachian spin on Motown.
When you were playing with the Boatmen, you also played some individual, like parties, weddings, and I think you even opened up before a stand-up comedian time or two.
Yeah, we got to do all kinds of stuff. That was a really fun group, and we were chameleons, as we could kind of fit in with anything. So sometimes when Afro Man, who's kind of a comedy musician, would play, they'd call us, we would open up. And then the Spin Doctors, which is like a 90s progressive rock group, they'd call us and we'd open up. Or we opened up for Philip Phillips, who won American Idol. Got to do all kinds of fun stuff. That was a great band for
now, you guys had kind of an amicable, you decided to kind of split up, and then I heard that the Bring Downs was kind of an accident when you got together.
Yes. So the Boatmen were touring pretty good. I met a girl who was originally from Pulaski County, and we got married. We had a son, and I still tried to keep the Boatmen alive, well, my part of the Boatmen alive, but I moved to Virginia, and the rest of the guys are all still West Virginia. And it was just tough. I worked for the beer distributor down there as a salesman. I stepped away, and they kept playing as the Boatmen, and which I was fine with. I couldn't make it work. And so I took a break from music for a while. I was playing in the Radford, Roanoke area, some solo stuff, but really just, I called it out triple dipping, because I would go and sell the music venue or bar. I'd sell them the beer. We'd have a beer event, like a release of a certain beer, and then I would play music at it. So I triple dipped. And then we had our little girl, had a little boy and little girl, and then my wife and I decided, we're still good friends, just deciding it wasn't working. We divorced. I ended up moving back to West Virginia, and the Boatmen had stopped playing altogether, and I wanted to make a solo record. And so I just thought that I'd written so many songs that I wanted to have out in the world, and I didn't know what would happen. And I kind of always loved Stuart Hill's playing, because he played in Atomic Joe, was the band I would go and sneak out of high school and go see his band. And so I wanted Stuart to play, and we got these guys together, and it ended up being they played on every song. And so we made that record at Kid in the Background, which is on Prince Street. And I listened back, and we were listening back to that first time, and we kind of all took this big sigh of relief. It felt good. And I said, man, we brought the room down. And Bring Downs. So I said, well, we can call it the Bring Downs. And didn't really think that we would play too many shows. But that was January 2016. So here we are.
And some people have called it alternative country. Some call it Appalachian rock.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still a combination of the Temptations and the...
I think sometimes it's more honky tonk. I think that we have those tinges of still doing it, but still soul in there. I think that if anybody has heard of Ray LaMontagne, he's one of my favorite singers. Tinges of Dave Matthews, I think, are in there. And if evolution of songwriting, you can hear even in the first Bring Downs record, you can kind of hear where I'm at as far as just becoming a father, and also it's kind of more of a solo record that you hear. There's not like a cohesiveness to it. And now the Bring Downs are on our fourth record, fifth one we're making right now. I think we've got a sound. We've got our own sound, and so it's still definitely rock, because you can't be have Stuart Hill in the band and not be a rock and roll band. But we've got country and some soul in there, blues, definite blues.
Now, you're the youngest guy in the band.
I am, by 10 years or so. Wow. So I'm going to be 41 in April. And but the guys, we're all in that spot in life that we're weekend warriors. We all have families and have found a happiness in that. Like, it's kind of our release to go play shows.
I've seen you at the Sternwheel Regatta, and I love your music videos. The latest album you've had is called Monarch Sessions.
Yes, sir.
And has it come back? Has it come out?
It has. Monarch Sessions we recorded it at Robbie Lanham's studio called Monarch Studios, and it's over Raleigh Avenue way by Lowry's. But a great little studio. Robbie's an amazing engineer. It released June 22nd on all the digital platforms, so Apple Music, Spotify, and CD. And then we did a crowdfunded vinyl release, and those still haven't came, which vinyl pressing takes forever anyway. But the last I tracked it was leaving France. So I think it is in the ocean somewhere, our vinyl copies. So they should be here soon. And I love that vinyl's made this big resurgence, and it's something so special about holding something tangible, and it's a piece of art, and then getting near it. So, yeah.
Is all that original?
All but one song. There was a fellow named Walter DeBar, and he was a Buchanan, West Virginian, and I met him playing a show over where the Raleigh Theater is. I was on the way there, and I saw this guy sitting on the handrail of Roma's Pizza with a guitar, and I kind of just walked up to him, and he was playing. I sat and listened, and I said, you should come play at our set breaks. And he introduced himself, Walter DeBar, kind of told me his story, that the reason he was in Beckley is he's in recovery, but had just been released from prison, and he was a year clean, and he'd found his voice. He kind of really touched my soul as far as his songwriting. It was just unbelievable. He had this Tom Waits sound, and he didn't really have any idea how to do any of the online stuff, the technical stuff. So I helped him get a Facebook and got him a SoundCloud, and I booked his first session at Kid in the Background for a video shoot. And then he was really on top of it. That was 2018. He toured pretty extensively, was in LA, played the Knitting Factory in New York, and came back to West Virginia, and demons got the best of him, and he relapsed and he passed away. So I wanted to keep his music alive. And so I picked actually that very first song that I heard him play, and we recorded, and we just released a music video for it with Healing Appalachia, which is a great nonprofit out of Lewisburg. They do a lot of recovery point help. Anybody that needs any kind of help, even domestic, they really point you in the right direction for counseling and therapy and recovery.
You guys are up for or finalists of the Appalachian Arts and Entertainment Award. Is in what categories?
I think I'm for male vocalist, which is funny. I would have never put me in there. Male vocalist,
you're too humble.
And I believe it was Song of the Year with Homesick, or music video. I think music video, and I don't know how any of that. I don't know who nominated us, how it worked. It seemed unreal that's happening, because I think that honestly, a lot of this stuff we do for ourselves to stay sane. You know, I do a lot of. I keep myself busy. I'm also 4 years sober. July 5th will be 4 years for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just decided that, when you're the best at something, you should slow down. And I think I was the best at drinking for a while. I didn't know that I was in a competition with myself, but I needed to slow down. And I'd been in the beer industry for a long time as a salesman, and kind of through music. And, I've found a way to really express myself and not need it. And so that's all I think in this new record you hear that too, kind of my sobriety coming through. I'm more clear-minded, and I'm staying busy. And these awards, I don't even know how they come about. It's really cool though, and we're super thankful. And the hashtag entertainment publication, they just did a story on us, and I'm really humbled by all that stuff.
That's great. You're a teacher, and I was a teacher for many years. And is this the first time you've ever taught in the last?
Yeah. So in 2017, I quit working for breweries and distributors in the beer industry because I saw that there was a need for a company to clean beer lines and do draft beer installation. So I started my own company called Clean Lines, and it was going really well because I saw in Virginia and North Carolina, there's these independent companies that are cleaning lines, and there wasn't a company in West Virginia that I knew of that existed. So that's kind of how I started my own business, and I bought all this equipment, and then the pandemic happened. So all those places that serve draft beer were not open. So sold my part out of the company, went back, and since I had 2 4-year degrees, all I needed was a certification to sub, and I subbed for adult basic education through the Spokes program, helping people get GEDs and stuff. I did that for about 8 months, and then my first day of subbing for K through 12 was for 7th grade science at Beckley Stratton, October 1st last year. And my very first day, I walked in and I knew the health teacher. She married one of my buddies from high school, Luke. And I knew the police officer on duty and the principal, Johan Smith. And when I walked in, they pretty much said, our music teacher just put his notice in. Would you think you'd want to be the music teacher? You're a musician. And I said, well, that's my whole heart. I would love it. I'm so passionate about it. So my very first day, we talked about me being a music teacher, and I went and kind of shadowed the guy for 2 weeks, and then I started. So yeah,
man,
that's my second year.
My granddaughter has had you for class, or maybe still does, Kaylee Bennett.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
She thinks you're great.
Yeah, yeah.
And but now, so you're going to stay in the teaching?
Oh yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it until they won't let me do it anymore. I love it. I think forever. It's great.
You're also involved with the Bill Withers Festival, and we've had the markers been placed in front of the Stratton School, and where Bill Withers went to high school, and it's kind of sad that we're a little late because Bill Withers has passed away, but and I had the privilege of meeting Bill Withers one time, and that's something I'll never forget. But what you're trying to do now is raise enough money for you're having a festival in July and raise enough money to get a statue.
Yeah, the statue's actually complete, from my understanding. Pastor Fred Hightower, who did the Katherine Johnson statue, who's from Hidden Figures, they did a movie on her. She was one of the ladies that was behind NASA. Yeah, so Fred Hightower did the sculpture. Marsha Withers is involved, helped pick the pictures and stuff that depict Bill in that era. And to place the statue, to have it bronzed, the landscaping, the concrete pad, it's about $150,000 is what they estimate. So I think we've raised around $45,000-$50,000. This will be the 4th year of the festival. And I think that it can be the focal point of Beckley. I think that Bill left us such a positive legacy and kind of a layup that we're not utilizing, where, Beckley, I'm not sure that as far as identity for tourism. We were the gateway to adventure for a little while, they said, which is kind of promoting Fayetteville, but not really saying anything about us. We have hotels for Fayetteville, but then I heard that at one point they had hired a marketing company. The chamber had talked about using "Welcome to the Mountains" of Beckley. And I was like, I hate to be a stickler here, but we're not really in the mountains. We're a plateau. Maybe before mountaintop removal, we were in the mountains. But I said, why don't we have a lovely day in Beckley, or, lean on me in Beckley, West Virginia. I think that Bill, just his music's so positive, and it talks about, so much about being West Virginian. So I think that we just need the right person, celebrity that knew Bill, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Jimmy Fallon, or somebody that sees that we're trying to raise the rest of this money. I think, any of those big time names could come in here and say, we're backing you up and we want to help. So we just got to get the word out there. And
you think there's any chance of a grant, some type of matching?
They're working on that right now. I know that they are. I think that where Bill has a West Virginia degree, it's an honorary degree, but I think that West Virginia should step up and help us. I know that they're in talks with them and the Cole Heritage Highway. I know that they were working on signs because Bill's grandma that he wrote Grandma's Hands About, his dad, 5 brothers and sisters are all buried at the Slab Fork Cemetery, and there's no signage up, no markers, and so they're helping do all of that. So all of this, that kind of came about in getting signage up just about Bill being from here.
Yeah.
And he was raised on Mullins Street, and actually the house had been torn down in '96. It was 105 Mullins Street, and it's actually for sale right now. So I was like, oh man, how cool would that be if we put some kind of memorial park up there, something there as well. But yeah,
you can't miss the boat, because I use Oak Hill as an example, and I'm not putting the people down, but they tore down the old Pure Oil station where Hank Williams Jr. or Hank Williams is supposedly died. It could have been a great museum.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
and now it's just a vacant lot.
Yeah,
and but now you have bands coming in for Bill Withers Festival. You pay these guys a minimum, or what?
The city, pretty much everybody donated their time. The first year, it was complete. Everybody was donated, and then Rob Rappold, who's been a good buddy of mine, known him almost my whole life. He said, the city would like to kick the bands, a little bit of money, a few $100 or whatever, for donating their time and talent. And so they were really nice. And we actually had bands even give it back, to put it, which I thought was so cool.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks so much.
You've done a lot with, I know at Tamarack, some of the festivals you've had there and the bands come in.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a couple of them. They've been fantastic.
Thank you.
And a variation of bands, different types of styles. You've helped out with some other charities like New River Animal Rescue and those kind of things, and with the Fur Ball. And those people are, all those animal shelters and rescue, they all need money. It's just,
they raised almost $20,000 on Saturday for the New River and the Fur Ball. And I'm so just blown away that people were, backed it and showed up and dressed to the nines, and I loved it. So yeah, I got to play for about 4 hours for them. That was great.
Now, you once said that Beckley should be the music hub of the state. What's it going to take?
I don't know. I think that it's getting our local government on board to see it, because I think that we've got the adventure piece in Fayette County. We've got the artistic piece, which I feel is Greenbrier County and Lewisburg. You've got the college towns in Morgantown and Huntington. And I think that Beckley, since we have 4 international superstars in 4 very different genres of music, you've got Bill Withers, of course, which I would call soul music. He said it was jazz music. You've got Everett Lilly in the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame, was, incredible sweetheart of a fella and a Raleigh County school bus driver. You've got little Jimmy Dickens, who was Bolt, West Virginia, Raleigh County, in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And then you've got Calvin Simon, who founded Parliament Funkadelic. and he founded the church Sky Ministries that's still there, and I want to get signage up for him. But I think that's 4 very different styles of music: funk, country, bluegrass, and soul music, and all from the same area. And it shows how diverse and special that we are. And so I think that if we can get our local, government behind us and say, West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, we'd like to donate a building, for you to come and put up some kind of exhibit. I would love for there to be a Bill Withers walking, exhibit just that plays the documentary Still Bill, or some kind of information about Little Jimmy and all his contributions, the longest running Grand Ole Opry member. I mean, that's all huge deals, And I think that we just got to get the right people the information. And I've tried to not be too pushy, but I want to really help,
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming by and talking
so
to
much.
me, man. And it's been and anytime you want to come back, we'd be glad to have you.
Yeah.
And anybody else out there would like to be on our program, you can hit me up at awbennett50@gmail.com, and we'll get you on here. And remember, until then, if you're not dead yet, you're not done yet. And this is Wayne Bennett, and God bless you.